Well, it is interesting to think about information overload. When you have this huge proliferation of information sources, of applications, it's coming at people much more quickly, and people do feel overloaded. And information management is more critical to the success of the business than ever. But we don't think of information overload as much as we talk about filter failure, the inability to contextualize the information. How do you get the right information into the right people's hands so that they can do their job most effectively? And that entails creating scenarios, use cases, and understanding the tasks and understanding what content and data people need to solve those particular problems. It also means that we have to organize that information and build an enterprise view of the architecture. Lots of organizations have grown up through acquisitions, and so their different business units and their different departments use different language. So that's the first thing that has to happen. We have to harmonize that language, have consistent terminology, and then we can start to apply various approaches to structuring that information so that, again, we can filter it correctly, we can put it in the right context, and we can give it to people as they need it, just in time. Well, big data is a big buzzword. In the traditional sense of big data, it's about the 3 V's, the volume, the velocity, and the variety. What does that mean? Well, lots of organizations have dealt with large amounts of information in the past, such as Walmart. Walmart has lots and lots of transactions, but that's not big data. That's large data. But the point is, when you start adding in unstructured information, you start adding in click streams or social media analysis or sentiment analysis or other unstructured voice of the customer information like surveys and feedback and customer support calls, then it becomes big data. But in order to make use of it, you have to have consistent organizing principles. The data comes from a variety of sources, and each of those sources has their own taxonomies and their own metadata. Or in the case of unstructured, sometimes there's no taxonomy or there's no metadata, and you have to infer the structure. So having this core information architecture is required to cut across these different systems, to integrate these different systems, and to make meaningful business decisions and gain meaningful insights from that data. It still comes back to focusing on a process that's important to the organization and then looking at the data sources that feed that process and distinguishing between low-value information and content and high-value information and content. And many times, when we focus on that high value, we can put some energy into that. We can make that content more effective. We can make it more usable. We can make it more findable by tagging it, by organizing it, by applying editorial processes. So you're taking low-value content, you're making it more usable, you're refining it for the process, and you're targeting that particular application that will be supported by that content. And again, focusing on that high-value content and making it more usable for the process. Yes, it's a significant investment. However, you have to look at the benefit and the outcome in the business case. What is the ROI? So what process are you supporting, and how does that align with what's important to the business? What are the business imperatives? Right? What's the business trying to do? Are you trying to be a low-cost producer? Are you trying to increase customer intimacy? Are you trying to achieve more market share or more wallet share? And then within those constructs, what processes need to be enabled and optimized? And within those processes, what content and data needs to be applied? What content data do you need to provide as inputs? Now, to get started, to do a maturity assessment, to do a current state, to do a roadmap, that's probably a 3-month effort for a typical organization. But it really depends on how much you're socializing this, how many business units you need to work with, how many stakeholders you need to have, and so on. The other question that I get frequently asked is, when are you done with taxonomy or information architecture or information management? And I answer, as soon as you're done with sales, marketing, manufacturing, quality control. In other words, it's never ending. But that doesn't mean that it's always going to take a lot of energy and time and money. You have to get over that initial inertia and you have to establish these processes and operationalize them so they're just part of the way people do their jobs. They're just part of the business process. They're woven into the fabric of the organization. Then it's much easier to sustain. There's an interesting inverse relationship between the value that you receive from these initiatives and the cost. So in the beginning, the cost is high and the value is low. As it proceeds and you gain more maturity, more momentum, the value increases and the cost declines. And you can look at those as two curves that intersect at some point, and then you achieve greater value. Every organization is dealing with digital transformation. And critical to that transformation is the ability to effectively deal with information assets. There's a huge range of tools, technologies, and methodologies that can be used to harvest that rich value from data. So critical to every one of these business initiatives is an investment in a foundation of taxonomy, metadata, and information architecture.